Hello, everyone, and welcome to Authentic You. I'm SeaJay Liebscher, the co-lead pastor of Jesus Culture, Sacramento, with my husband, Banning Liebscher. You might have heard of him.
I have never heard of him.
Oh, I'll introduce you later.
Right. Well, I am Erika Myburgh, Jesus Culture's operations pastor. And between us, I think that's just a fancy word for anything facilities.
Like a janitor?
Yes, or a broom and a vacuum cleaner.
Or a mom.
Or a hammer.
Or a mom. That's a good one.
Right? And I'm Deborah Giles, director of the Jesus Culture School of Leadership. If you'd like to learn more information, please visit jcsl.online.
Oh, and her husband are killing it leading JCSL. We've got testimonies out the door from this year. You guys, we are so excited for you to hear this conversation with one of our friends. It's good. It's real. We only invite people on that we like. So I hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, everyone, to Authentic You, the podcast with me, SeaJay Liebscher. And I am here with my two friends, Erika Myburgh.
Hello.
Please pronounce Myburgh the correct way.
In Afrikaans, which is my first language, is Erika Myburgh.
Or Erika Myburgh. She doesn't have letters,
Yes.
she has sounds.
I do the r's and the khs. I can do that.
And Deborah Giles.
That's right.
There you go.
So I know, I have known Deborah a long time, and we are joined with Kalley, and get ready for it, Heiligenthal.
Sort of.
Heiligenthal.
No.
No, how do you say it?
Heiligenthal.
Heiligenthal.
I'm sticking with that.
Okay.
I got a new pronunciation. I'm going the CJ way.
I know. I'm very wise. So how do we properly say your name?
Well, as far as I know, if you're German, don't correct me because we've done this before and that's not improving me. So as far as I know, it's Heiligenthal.
Heiligenthal.
But then imagine it Heiligenthal. So if you think think
Heiligenthal.
friendly and get the high out as the main syllable and then just every other sound in the alphabet, just let that trail off. And that's the best way.
Heiligenthal.
I feel like it should be
There,
angry.
see?
Heiligenthal. Yeah.
You should be angry.
Yeah, it should be-
Heiligenthal.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a bit of that.
If you drop it off at the end, that helps. Let it just trail away.
There you go.
Yeah.
The end, yeah.
It'll be fine.
Perfect.
It'll be fine. We're all going to make it, guys.
There you go.
We're all going to make it.
Absolutely.
Well, I was thinking about just the wonderful tidbits that we share on this show. For those of you that know me, I can really dive into a TV show. Mm-hmm. I can really, I am, my favorite thing is to find a TV show that has many seasons that I've never seen. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'll see you guys in a couple days. You don't have this option, Kalley, because you have little kids.
But we find a way, don't we?
Yeah.
It's
There
sleep
you
or
go.
a television series. Sometimes you're so used to not sleeping that you're I'll just go ahead and consume so many episodes.
I'm just going for it. Well, guys, Banning can't do this. Banning right now is watching 6 different shows. And he can watch 10 minutes of a show, pause it, jump into another show for 10 minutes. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else like that. And it's so annoying to watch TV with him. We're no, finish it. Come on. You're into the episode. And he's like, let's pause it and maybe come back to this. I'm like,
Why?
No.
Revisit.
Yeah, I don't understand. It's he wants to stretch it out to enjoy it. This is so wonderful. Let's watch it in 10-minute segments. No. And
That's not normal.
no, I know. I
Yeah.
don't know anybody else that does this. Anyway, so there's a war in our house. And he thinks me and the kids are so weird because we'll be I'll literally see you in 4 hours, Banning. Don't talk to us. We are diving deep into whatever it is. But
Yeah.
I have had a moment before of this has gone too far. And did you guys ever watch 24?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so did you watch 24, Kalley? Oh.
I don't believe I had the attention span for it, if I'm going to be vulnerable.
Okay.
It was over my head, you know?
Okay, well,
Don't judge me.
No, we will never judge you. We were very, very into 24.
Yes.
Like super into it. And it was before you could watch seasons of it.
Yes.
So it was like every week we're watching it. Well, I was so invested that the episode I watched, the president's plane had crashed. And it left us on a hangar. We didn't know. Did the president live or die? And the next day, I'm driving around in Reading. I'm doing kid drop-offs, and the flag was half-mast. And I totally went, oh my gosh, the president died. And like, I was so sure that the president on 24 was more real than real life, and the flag. And I totally was like, oh no, I've crossed the line between normal TV watching and obsessive TV watching, and this is my new line.
I was so committed.
Good storytelling.
Yeah,
I was so committed that my ringtone on my phone was remember CTU?
Oh, yes.
And when the office, it's like.
Yes.
I changed my phone ring to that, so. We were like in the store, and there goes my phone.
Oh,
and
so
everybody
we weren't friends then, because I would have been like,
I know.
No,
I'm sorry. But I did it.
We loved it so much that we would rent a cabin and we'd go away for 2 days as a family, and we would take the box set of DVDs and we would watch it till like 3 a.m, sleep and get up, and we'd watch 24 hours in like 3 days. It was like I think we were just Havel and I, so we're like, teenagers and my parents, and we would every year do that. So yes, I get it. It was amazing, but I don't know what it'd be like to have to wait till the next week. That is horrible. That sounds horrible.
Yes. You guys, I knew.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So me, Eric, and Candace and Banning, in this time of 24, we were working together a ton at Bethel, and Banning was doing video announcements. Is that what they were called then? Mm-hmm. The video announcements, that like they have DVDs you can buy of them still, because him and Dan Fairley did them, and everybody thought they were so funny. Yes.
Yes.
So they wrote out an entire 24 video announcement where they acted out like 24, this video announcement. And I just remember after that Sunday sitting with Eric and Candace, we lived on the same street, so we like saw each other often. And Candace was like, I think we've gone too far, you guys, with 24. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? It's 24. It's the best thing ever. She's like, we just put at church, we acted out 24. And then the episode that night, he bit a guy's ear off. I think we've gone too far. We've gone too far.
Hey, that's Peter with Jesus.
Yeah.
Where he was crucified. I'm like, this is biblical, right?
Absolutely.
Like, Peter did it first. Let the record show. But
I remember like this like check of like, oh, Candace, what are you talking about? And then like, oh my gosh, we're so into this show. I don't know who the real president in real life is. We're using it for a guide for everything. We're like, this is who I am now. I am Kiefer Sutherland. I will. Jack Bauer. Yes.
I think we should resurrect it. We should watch it again together.
I know. I'm like, what have I been doing with the last 20 years of my life?
There's so many.
Deep dive, and I'm going to think of each of you.
Oh, yeah.
For all
there's
those
so
24.
many seasons. Jack Bauer
would not die. He would not die.
I have a cat I named Jack Bauer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is a blending of reality and fiction. You're not joking around here. This is
I have
amazing.
issues. I should probably see a counselor about this, but
we could.
I haven't, 24
well,
has been
tell
gone.
me though, does this qualify? Because mine wasn't 24, but I was in high school, and it was like right when American Idol was like at like its peak. I don't know if you remember when we're like, oh my goodness, Paula Abdul, she's so kind, thank goodness, because that Simon is heartless, right? And it's like we're all discovering it.
Yes.
Because they did it and then they stopped and then restarted. I think we're at a couple dozen times now, but this was like the OG.
Yeah.
And I was so invested. This was my 24, I think. I was so invested. There was a season, I don't know, I'm not presuming that any of you are as nerdy, like musically nerdy as I am, but there was a season with a guy named Clay Aiken.
Oh, yes.
And Clay was like... Clay was like musical theater, very theatrical,
Yes.
and I loved Clay. I was cheering for him from like that first tryout, and he gets all the way, and not to like spoil it for anybody, because if anyone's like,
I saw
on the
it.
edge of their seat about how it ended and 2000 whatever 3,
Yeah.
Clay took second. He took second place. And I vividly remember I dressed up for high school that next day and I wore all black because I was in the street. I was mourning. And I showed up and everyone's like, what is wrong? Like, what happened? And I'm like,
Hello?
I'm not ready to talk about it yet. But I went to choir class at 9:40 that morning, and I knew I'm going to be surrounded by like-minded people who are going to understand. And I walked in, and I didn't have to say a word. They all understood.
Didn't he lose to Ruben Stoddard or something?
Stoddard? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
I do have a very good memory usually, so.
The only thing American Idol, when I think of it, I made a promise to my kids. I will never be that mom who tells them, you should go try out. You're so good. And lie to them.
Yeah.
Because all the parents that we stand on the side, I'm like, you lied to your kid the whole time. And here they are. And everybody's laughing at them because I can't sing. So my kids, I've been trying to be honest, not to say, you should go to American Idol. You're not good enough. I don't know. I just said, I cannot be that parent.
Yeah.
I actually believe strongly in that.
They're amazing and awesome, but you're not good enough for American Idol.
Well, there are certain things that you shouldn't tell your kids they can do if they cannot do.
Yes.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a 5'2" boy, you shouldn't send them to basketball.
This is where everybody is not a winner.
No.
And I want to be honest about it and kind. But because I was appalled at that, watching. I'm like, the parents, it's your fault.
Yeah, it is.
And then they cry and wail on the side. And
they're shocked because their grandma always said they were the best singer there was.
I know. And I'm like, you clearly cannot sing.
Yeah, this is not a good thing.
Anyway.
Your grandma's lying to you.
Yes. But I remember when Ruben won. And all of us were like, but Clay. But I wasn't as invested. I definitely didn't wear black, and I didn't have a group of friends that I could partner with on that. So that's a gift.
No words needed. Maybe we just hummed like a deep, like breathing kind of hum thing. But there were no words needed. Just a bunch of broken-hearted choir kids.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
That's amazing. Well, Kalley, most people would know you as a worship leader from Bethel. I remember being just transfixed watching you lead worship because you always felt so like it was just you. Like it wasn't a rehearsed thing. It was this genuine experience of you, which I love with worship. I'm way more moved by somebody worshiping themselves that leads me into worship. So I'm just giving people a context of this is who you're talking to. And she's on a journey of what next steps are. I think she should come and be my personal worship leader, but she has not signed up for that. So
I got to get caught up on 24 first so that I know that we're like really kindred. You know what I'm saying? The synergy is there. And then I'll let you know.
Yeah.
It would be my honor.
I'll pay you in eggs. My chickens are really, really good at laying eggs. So I could give you like 4.
I miss those. The bright orange, like the real thing.
Yeah. I could give you like 4 eggs a week. I mean, a week. That's a lot.
I mean, where do I sign on the dotted line? Where is it?
I also have duck eggs, which I won't eat. So I could give you those in plethora.
Okay. Let me do a little research. I've never tried them either. It sounds a little gross, but let me do a little research and see how
they are
it.
gross. They are gross. Well, so we want to hear, if you just want to let us in, we were going to talk about insecurities with you. So tell us. I mean, we were discussing, we don't really know what insecurities are. So enlighten us.
I will. Yeah, I have enough to share. Right now, specifically, we're looking at your lovely faces, and I'm noticing that I know this is like audio for a podcast. So I just felt, full disclosure, if I'm going to go real-time insecurity, I cut my little micro bangs today and they're very uneven. So maybe just instance number one of insecurity is my own head that I did to myself today.
Well, just really quick, just so you know, I've been looking at your micro bangs and I was like, dang, only people who are really pretty and confident pull off micro bangs. Because if I had micro bangs, yeah, number one, it'd be a bowling ball with micro bangs. So that doesn't work. So you pull them off. Your micro bangs look great.
So kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Once my daughter, my little girl, Elsie, in the classic, like little kid stage, cut just a half mullet, which there was a season when I was leading worship at Bethel where I did that on purpose. But hers was like, took a scissors and cut. And I told her, like, honey, it's okay. We do need to cut it, but we have a great friend. She's going to help. And she looked up at me with these eyes. I'll never forget. And she goes, but she cuts your hair. And I said, yeah, she's amazing. And she goes, but she's not going to cut it like yours, right?
Oh. Why are kids so brutal?
Here. It's brutal.
Oh.
It's funny.
That's awesome.
So yeah, insecurity. I have plenty. And when you become a mom, there's plenty more. There's just so many. Your kids will let you know. Don't walk around thinking that's cool. It's not. And I'm here to keep reminders coming. I was at the Wonder Conference last year, and I talk about insecurity, but I have a 1.5-year-old. And my little girl, the older one, was giving me a hug one day, and I'm maybe like 4 months postpartum, something like that. And I'm hugging her, and she pulls back, and it's kind of a similar look in her eyes, So I'm braced, like I'm like, okay, the walls are going up. Where are we going? And she pulls back, and just with absolute innocence, gives me the up and down, like just before she says it, she's gonna check and confirm. But she goes, "Oh, Mom, is your butt in the front now?"
Oh no!
Oh,
No.
And I said,
goodness.
"Yes, honey, it kind of is." And this is the miracle of birth.
You're welcome.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's your butt in the front.
I know.
Oh, why is that so much truth for all of us?
So true.
Because it really does kind of I'll spare everyone the details,
Yes.
but if I'm being authentically me,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
Like it does shift in a very
Yes.
real way.
Yeah.
It all does.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fascinating. So
Amen, sister. Yeah.
So yeah, really, I've gotten to kind of walk through, the physical insecurity,
Yeah.
the emotional ones. It's funny. I feel like even as a worship leader, right? Like, I think I kind of grew up in settings where, and I think it's pretty common for people to assume if you're going to be up in front of people, or if you're a mouthpiece of some sort, whether it's speaking, leading worship, whatever, your tendency, I think the assumption is like, oh, don't let it go to your head, kid. Like you're probably prone to thinking a lot of yourself or being prideful. And to be really honest, like mine, I'm much more prone to like the self-deprecating,
Wow.
like kind of crippling insecurity about like very many things.
Wow.
And so it really has been a journey pretty regularly of like, if I'm honest, like I feel like there's a lot that I've had to work through, comical ones, right? But then very, very kind of deep-seated ones that I think like really were kind of like guards in the way of the calling on my life, like the purposes, who God asked me to be, and like just avoidance. I was never going to get to the core of what was behind it. I was never going to have access to the trueness of what God, placed inside, or what he says, without actually like having to look at some of those pretty head on.
Yeah. So how did you do that?
I don't know about you. Like, I think there's kind of a shame that comes with insecurity as well. because it almost feels like, am I 12 again? Like, am I back in junior high? You feel like you should be past some of this by now. And you feel like it's like developmentally, I have like a chapter where I'm insecure and then I should just be moved on, you know? But I had a really dear friend of mine, Melissa Casey. I remember I was coming on staff as a pastor in the School of Ministry and just like had to strengthen some things. Like if I'm going to be leading and if I'm going to be trying to reproduce some things in my life, I don't want to see some of this insecurity. I don't want to see some of these things replicated. And so the invitation to like, well, there's something else to step into. I'll never forget. She goes, you know, we need to take the charge out of the word insecurity because like, our pride will get in the way of wanting to look at it, or we just feel so much shame about the fact that it's still there that we don't actually just head on face it. It doesn't have to actually be that involving or that intense. You just have to be deliberate about it, you know? And I'll never forget, she was so kind. She just completely changed the way that I thought about insecurity when she goes, Kalley, like take away all of the like the shame and the charge and the right versus wrong and life stage and whatever about that word. If you're thinking a city and there's a bunch of buildings around, right? Like if the wind blows through and those skyscrapers start to, you know, bend and sway, all that means is it's not stable, it's unstable, right? It's not secure. And so rather than sitting and applying shame where you should have been here by now, or how did this get this way? Or this really shouldn't be this way. And how was it left this long? All you do is what you reinforce the foundation. You strengthen what's underneath. And so that the sway is held and grounded in something deeper and something stronger underneath. And when I heard it that way, I just felt this permission to say like, wow, that means my insecurity is always an invitation to run myself deeper into who the Lord has said that I am, to reintroduce myself to who God made me to be. And I could miss that. Like I could miss that opportunity because I feel so much shame about like, oh, that should be fixed by now, or that shouldn't sway when the wind comes. Like, no, we always are solidifying who we are in Christ, what he says about us. So that was such a massive gift for me to kind of demystifize, to kind of lift it out of that, like, I should be past this by now. Does that make sense?
Oh, I love that picture. I love because
that's so good.
Totally. I tell my kids a lot in your 20s because they are young. Those are the years to build really, really, really deep foundations, because only when you have really, really deep foundations can you build really, really high. But I love that. And insecurity is an invitation to basically go back and look at your foundations. Yeah. How sturdy and how deep are my foundations, which is totally way less overwhelming, because we're so hard on ourselves. You're like you said, most of the time we think I should have this by now. Yeah. And I always get this distinct when you actually sit down and talk with the Lord. He does not say that to us ever. You should have by now. There's always an invitation and a grace, and I love that. Like I'm a total words person, but I also picture is so good for me. Like it's just an invitation to go back to your foundations and dig deeper and deeper and stabilize so that you can.
It's such a good picture too of like
beautiful.
That that the insecurity makes us sway.
Do you ever feel in insecurity that you want to avoid situations or things, or you want to go into hiding? I just was thinking when you were talking about, you know, I feel like there's seasons where I have felt okay in my insecurities and strengthened, and then they come back in waves. It's like I'll feel good, I'll feel like, okay, I'm doing well, and then I'll be triggered by something, or a new phase of life, or a new season, or something will happen, and it will come back. And it's like, oh, really? I thought I dealt with that. And there'll be almost like a sense of I want to hide. I don't want to face this again. And do you feel that at all, or have felt that before?
Oh yeah. When you're and I think that is some of the not only should I be past this, but I've done this before. Like I feel like I'm back Kalley 10 years ago? And like, did I do something wrong? What did I do to get myself in this place? Is this a punishment? And you're right. The propensity is to cover up and hide, to bury. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, there's a burying that actually doesn't get me rooted anywhere. It just kind of hides and puts me in this like stalemate. Like there's no direction or movement there, you know? And I found like, I mean, I don't know. I think for me, the real anecdote, you know, whether it's like who I am as a leader, who I am as a woman, who I am as like an owner of microbangs that really don't agree with my forehead, like whatever it is, like all the many layers that comprise who we are, right? Like, how do we get strengthened, and what does it look like when I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm back on this path again? Like, did I do something wrong? Did I like fail the test before? Or why am I revisiting? And I think for me, it always comes back to like, okay, the thing that solidifies me always is the words of my father. Like the father comes to identify, he comes to proclaim purpose, right? Belonging in a sense of like, this is who you are, identity. And to find that identifying voice in the Father, I need intimacy with him. I need to come under the thoughts that he has that outnumber the grains of sand in the ocean. Like that's what he's not short on thoughts about us. Ever. He's not short on like, I'll revisit and tell you as many times as I need to who you are, what I feel about you, what I've created you for, how much your actions don't change my opinion about you. But shame has one goal, and shame, it's always been this way, right? All the way back in the garden, we cover up, we run, we hide, we find the fig leaves or the animal furs, and we pull away. For me, shame is such a killer when I'm in insecurity, because what I need is proximity.
Right.
What I need is intimacy. What I need is nearness to my Father to re-identify me, to reaffirm and to build that foundation deep down in the soil of his love again. But when I'm running and hiding in shame, how are we doing those two things at the same time? So I find that's such a powerful like point of, I think shame is like one of those things waiting immediately to keep us from that breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think about too, you know, you've heard the phrase that someone is waiting for you on the other side of your obedience, but it reminds me of someone's waiting for you on the other side of your wholeness, of your insecurity, of you finding who you're called to be. And I just look at where you're at, and because you've let the Lord come in, and all of us in our own ways have let the Lord come in and heal us of the insecurities and hear what God has said about us, it's allowed many people to find him and who God says about. And so it's that sense of it's bigger than us. And I think with insecurity, it's so self-focused. But when we look past that, it actually is a lot bigger than that. And I think about with you, you know, leading worship and being a mom and doing all these things, it's so much bigger because you didn't let insecurity stop you. It's allowed influence to come in and really affect so many more people than just affecting you in this season. And it's powerful. It's a powerful thing.
I was thinking about you and you said, let's talk about insecurity. And I thought, ooh, that's another level to imagine being a worship leader.
Yeah.
Because you're on the stage. Number one, you have to give of yourself so emotionally and mentally being in the right spot. But then you add in all the what feels like silly physical things, you know, like just all of it. Like, there's so much to being a worship leader that I was like,
it's true.
Ooh, you know, like getting up and preaching. I don't know. It feels like it's very exposed as a worship leader.
Yeah. But man, I'm so grateful for that, because I think it left no room to kind of wade in the shallows of it. It kind of was like, man, I remember coming back. Like I just start leading at Bethel, right? And there's cameras and there's my heroes and there's X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I'm just so aware of all the things that aren't enough, that I have wondered, like this probably is like a total liability about me, you know?
Yeah.
And I would get up and I would lead, and then it wouldn't be perfect. And I'd get off the stage and I would just like rush home, and I would sit on my couch in our living room. And I just would like, I couldn't even, it was like I had fallen ill. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, I am in such a swirl about my sense of the winds blew and it leveled everything out about me. Like so vulnerable, so exposed. And I would sit there and I just, woe is me. And I would replay over and over and over and over again, all the things that could have been different. And like, surely that'll end up on YouTube. Can't wait. That'll be fun. And XYZ, all the dumb stuff, right? And I remember like so kindly, my husband would just kind of like be there, be a support, bring me a meal in my, in my wailings. And after a while, he came to me a couple weeks after this, and he goes, "So I understand you're kind of going through something. It probably would help me to clarify, like, is this how every day is going to go after you leave worship?"
Wow.
Like, will I lose you for like literally the entire day?
Oh.
And honestly, it was really like, it was confronting, but it was beautiful being like, either I'm going to give up a part of the calling that the Lord's given to me and has like invited me into by saying like, no, I've been overcome by this, or this is agitating so badly to the point of decision where it's like, hey, where God's bringing all of us, these things can't come. It was the mercy of my sweet husband being like, are you going to fall ill? Like heart sick every single time you do this? Or are you going to stand up and find what he has for you on the other side, more than a good worship set? Like I was finding myself but I was learning to like actually be okay with imperfect Kalley.
Wow.
Do you want to can I survive? Can I live another day if I'm not at my perfect? And can we actually risk to try something knowing, like, I don't know about you guys. Are any of you this way where it's like, if you're going to embark on doing something new, like I want to wait until I've done it hypothetically in my head enough times where when I actually do it for the first time, never on planet Earth and in human history has it ever been done as well as I just did. Otherwise, I don't want to touch it because my insecurity about my sense of failure, I couldn't live with it. Like I literally couldn't live with it. Are any of you like perfectionists in that way, or like gonna go on a swirl if you're not perfect at something right off the bat?
Yeah, none of us. No,
I totally think that insecurity is totally such a focus on self, like because we literally all about us. Can I do it? And will I do it? And will I do it so good? And I'm like, and here's God. The truth is, no, you cannot do it without me or without my strength. And but it's the like you said anecdote, and I'm like, one of the anecdotes would be humility, like choosing to acknowledge right off the bat, I cannot do this without you, and then coupled with that, you bring it up a lot, the whole thing of perfection. Like that is just a word that needs to go away, except the only one who is perfect is God. But for us, like it's something we completely need to break agreement with. Yeah, because there is nobody that is perfect but God, so he gives us these things to do in life, knowing full well there's no way we're going to do it great or perfect or anything, because I'm like, he designs these things to cause us to walk in total dependence on him. But it takes us a while. I mean, it takes me still in my life, like, okay, I'm sorry for my independent heart. Like in that moment, I totally acted like, and it's not like I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be independent of God. But however, I acted independent of him, and it brought me to this spot. Here I am, wrapped up in my own whatever. Anyway, the only thing for me is not the only thing. One of the things I cry out a lot for is a humble heart. Like, show me how to humble myself daily, and because it causes me to live dependently on him. And I'm learning still because I don't know. I'm not good at it. Not perfect at it.
Same.
Same.
Yeah.
It makes me almost not frustrated, but it makes me sad to think how many things has God put on every one of us and every woman listening that we have sat back in insecurity and not done what God's called us to do because we're waiting to be perfect and we're waiting for it to happen, and we're looking and we're watching people who've been brave, who've sat up and done what they've been called to do in insecurity, without perfection. They've just done it. I mean, SeaJay, you've done this. No, I know. You're not perfect. It's a miracle. I know. But I mean, that really is authentically you. We're saying, like, get out and do it. Like, you don't have to have perfection. Don't put the filter on. Get up and take the picture without the makeup on. Just do what you have to do to show up authentically without the insecurity. And I think the other thing that I know, SeaJay, we touched on, or we were talking about, I think before we got on, was how critical we can be of others in our own insecurity.
Yeah.
And I think there is this judgment that because we feel insecure, we judge others, which makes us feel insecure to even do anything because we feel like, well, we've judged others of doing it. And so then it's like, well, if I do it, I think about how I've judged others, and now it paralyzes us as well. It's this weird cycle that we sit in the same way.
Yeah, I think for me, it's funny listening to you talk about, like, you want to rehearse something in your head so you can do it the very, very best. I have been on this journey. I mean, a lot of Authentic You came because I was married to Banning, who can get up on the stage, can be amazing, bring a word, has all of his crap together. And then there's me, who you put me on the stage, and what comes out of me never is what I planned on coming out of my mouth, and never what I practiced, and never, it's utterly humiliating almost every single time, because if you've seen an ugly cry face, it's mine. And I cannot get up very often without crying. And it is, I mean, I will go home just like, why, Lord? Why can't I not cry? And it just took me on this journey of, because it was so one of my biggest insecurities of, well, can I do it if it looks different? Can I be in ministry if it looks different than what other people do? Is it still as powerful? Is it still as impacting for people? Are you moving, Lord, if it looks different? And then having to step out in that and just like, oh my gosh, like, is everybody going to make fun of this? Because I am not what everybody looks like. I don't do it the way everybody does it. And it came from a very vulnerable place of I had pretty intense anxiety that led me to a spot where I didn't care. I had to really get to a spot that I didn't care anymore because so much was stripped away. But it is such a passion for me now that women could look and go, do it your way. You know?
Yeah.
Cut those micro bangs, girl.
Cut the bangs.
Yeah, like, do it your way. Do you feel good? Are you walking in all God has you to do? That is what matters. Like, I don't care what the world says. I care what God says over you. And if you walk in that, the freedom people get from their own insecurities to look and go, oh, she is walking in who God made her to be. And that's all I think is the freedom it releases over women to be not be who the world says, or not be who your emotions say, but be who God says you are. You know, there's a difference between be authentic to what you feel in the moment. I'm like, no, that's not authentic. Be authentic to who He has spoken over you, who He has called you to be, and walk in that.
Yes. Oh, that's so stunning, SeaJay. I'm so grateful that we have you and the uniqueness of who God has called you to be, and that you would be like, what I have to say is, here I am, send me. You know, like, this is all different and better because you said yes. And I think that's where it's like, when I say insecure, like, I'm no expert at like security, because I'm like, no, I feel, it's just that I feel like I so continually come back around on like, oh, I'm feeling insecure, incapable again. But I just never want to graduate from my need for Him ever. And it's like, if the creator of the universe decided, like he sat and in his heart, he thought, these 4 women, I want to create them to be just exactly the way that they are.
Yeah.
And I need them to own their uniqueness, not as faults, but as features.
Yes.
So then I'm like, you know what? You might not even like it. And actually, I can be okay with that. Like, I don't love it because I would love to be everybody's favorite.
Absolutely.
And I'm still really striving for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is, all we can do is stand back and say, I am who God made me to be. And I can sit and I can battle my maker the rest of my life. Or I can stand in humility and say, he didn't make a mistake and he meant it when he said it is good. And then looked at his people and said, that is very good. You are very good. When I made that, when I made you, and stand in agreement with our maker, not when I get perfect, not like when I look like the perfect packaged, whatever. And honestly, like SeaJay, I love the tears. Like for me, honestly, I trust leaders when I'm like, you have a little limp to you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because life is wild.
Life's hard. Yeah.
To me, there's a credibility that happens.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. You've walked through something that not everybody's walked through, and you've still clung to Jesus. You know, like you found him in the midst of pain, not in the midst of perfection and ease. You found Jesus. And there's something so beautiful about that. The reason why I love this podcast for me is I think like so many women, like I've seen you worship and you look like you're comfortable with who you are, you're comfortable with Jesus because you can be creative and you're just worshiping with all your heart. And so the freedom that comes when women get to hear, I do that even though, or I get up and worship even though I struggle with this, or I go home and I work on this. And I, just for women to go do that thing, go do that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're shining light on the darkness. Like, I love that we're shining light. Like, you even talking about insecurity, we all struggle with it. We all feel it, but it's hidden. And so when we bring light to it, it's like, oh yeah, we all get it. We all understand it. But you're still doing what you're called to do, even when you're struggling with it. And I think it's so brave. It's beautiful to watch when you're able to rise above it and just still do what God's called you to do in the middle of it. It's a beautiful thing. It's great to watch someone who it comes easy to them and watch them do it, but it's much more fun to watch it when it's hard for someone to do something and they still get up and do it.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, it's magical to watch.
It's like me and you cheering on the underdogs, and me and Erika can watch sports like nobody's business.
Correct.
And so I know, well, Erika's like Miss Workout. You don't know this, but she works out a lot, so she's very strong. But man, we really love the underdog.
We do.
Like when you hear the story of somebody that overcomes, it moves you.
I have so much basketball to go watch today. So much. No, I think as we're wrapping up, like, I think that we are at our most powerful when we are who God says we are, when we can close that credibility gap. And again, I think our theme completely is we're not talking about perfection or even achievement or accomplishment. I'm just, whether you work at Target or you stay home, whatever you are, I'm like, you are at your most powerful when you can be and agree with who God says you are.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I want for my life.
Absolutely.
Like, and that means wherever you are, whatever you find yourself, whatever you are doing. And I also think it will bring the most peace and fulfillment in your life. You will live a satisfied life when you can be who he says you are.
Absolutely.
But we have to do the work. You know, we always talk about the doubt and fears and insecurity because there's always a prowling enemy, and we call it TikTok and Instagram and that thing that will come and wants to tell you who you are.
Yeah.
But if we don't take responsibility, like if I don't go to the Lord, if we don't wrestle it through with him, somebody else will step into the void. So it's still our job and lays with us.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Oh, well, Kalley, thank you so much for joining
fun.
us.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you could be one of us, hanging with us. Very easy.
Oh, that means the world to me.
So once
you
again,
are so wonderful. Thank you for having me.
The job option is still available to be, I think the three of us could possibly pay you to be all three of our worship leaders. They'll bring something to the table too. I've got the eggs.
You just let me know when you want me.
Yeah.
I'm there, and I will get caught up on 24 in the meantime.
Oh, please do. There's so many seasons.
I'm going to change my phone, my ringtone again.
You could neglect your kids, not do anything for days. There's so many seasons.
And no judgment. Wow. You could do that.
We
we'd
support
be okay with
you.
that.
You just give them snacks. They'll be okay. It'll be fine.
Yep. Nothing a little Nutella and go won't take.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. I love hearing your heart and getting to meet you. You're an amazing woman.
Hi, ladies. It's Deborah Giles here. I want to remind you about our Jesus Culture School of Leadership. If you are looking for a place to grow in your relational health, grow as a leader, grow in ministry, grow in worship, we have lots of things available for you. So go ahead and take a look online, and applications are available now.